Привет, товарищ. Welcome. Today we talk about glorious Soviet. Scratch that. Glorious Imperial destroyer Okhotnik. And, well, let's get right to it. Okhotnik means hunter in Russian, and it was a radical destroyer proposal conjured up by the Imperial Russian Navy design boards to fill the gap in the cruisers in the Imperial Russian Navy. And it was supposed to be heavily armed with both guns and torpedoes, as well as the ability to lay mines. You can actually kind of see that these tracks that are on the deck would have been filled with mines, and then obviously they go off the end of it to deploy said mines. So we don't have mines in World of Warships, but if we did, I imagine this thing would carry like 4 million of them, because everything else about this ship is 100% meme-worthy. These ships were supposed to be capable of 35 knots and be armed with no more than 8 130mm 55 caliber B7 guns that were used on the Svetlana-class cruisers. They were also to have at least 3 triple torpedo tubes and mines. They obviously, Wargaming chose a design proposal for this that is slightly different, and it is just as ridiculous. The hull is based on the hull of the Gavril-class destroyers, which were lengthened 30 meters, 230 meters in total. Yeah, just adding 90 plus feet to a ship. Just to add more guns and torpedoes. It's such a ridiculous concept, but it is so Russian, it is unbelievable that this ship... Okay, breathe. While the design was finalized in late 1917, the ships would never be built, as the debate about the amount of power necessary to move the ship at the design speed of 35 knots could never actually be resolved. That said, these ships were kind of ahead of their time in a lot of ways. We wouldn't see this concept revisited until destroyer leaders became a thing, and that was contingent upon engine design actually having enough high-pressure steam to actually, turn over some of these heavier destroyers. Now, Okhotnik comes in, somewhere around 2,100 long tons in its actual, normal loaded state, probably over 3,000 long tons in a fully loaded state. Obviously, that's not as heavy as you would think. You start looking at some of the later U.S. destroyers, and they were all over that 2,000 long ton requirement. But this was 1917 when the ship was designed. We don't have any service history to talk about, so we'll go and talk about this ship in game. Okhotnik is the literal interpretation of how much vodka equals a destroyer. That's not a joke. This ship's armament size, shape, and everything about it is the stuff that memes are made of. It has 7 130mm guns and 12 torpedoes in 4 triple launchers. It is like the most heavily armed destroyer in the game. It is insane just how much offensive capability this ship has. That offensive armament, though, is honestly hampered by some pretty healthy nerfs just to balance the ship out. The range of the main battery is very short at just 9.2 kilometers without advanced firing training. Of course, it jumps up to a flat 11 kilometers with it, but, 11 kilometers is still pretty short range, and the torpedoes only have a 4.5 kilometer range. While it would make sense to treat this ship like any other low-tier Russian destroyer and rely upon those guns heavily, the reality is that this ship is slow, sluggish, and not very durable because it's so wide it takes lots of penetrating damage. That said, when you get this ship in smoke and get all of those guns to bear, this ship will melt most lightly armored ships quite easily. The HE is very usable. The AP is also very usable. And the torpedoes, if you can catch a ship coming directly towards you, you can actually stealth fire these torpedoes, and they will have no idea that impending doom is coming in the form of 12 freaking torpedoes moving at 62 knots towards them. This ship is very, very, very offensively oriented, and it is ridiculous that the ship managed to make it into the game in the condition it's in. Of course, well, Russian bias confirmed. Especially if you channel your inner Rasputin or Moscow while drinking vodka. Alright, let's talk about glorious Soviet... Imperial Destroyer stats, shall we? 12,700 hit points, up to 16 millimeters of armor. Of course, glorious Imperial Destroyer does not need armor. Plenty wide, definitely eat all AP. Main battery consists of 7 single 130mm 55 caliber B7 guns. They have 11 kilometer range, 9 second reload time. Very slow, because men turning turrets, mind you. 32.7 second 180 degree turn time, 91 meter dispersion. The HE does 1900 damage if you get a Citadel with it, and it has an 8% fire chance. AP shells, 2500 damage, and both HE and AP are coming out at the same time. By the way, these AP shells will easily Citadel most Tier 5 and below cruisers. It will also Citadel some Tier 6 and some Tier 7 cruisers at reasonable ranges. Now, with 11 kilometers in range with AFT, not exactly, pushing the boundaries there of AP. It's not like you're shooting 8-inch AP at stuff, although that wouldn't surprise me if the Russian Navy, somewhere in its history, developed a destroyer with 8-inch guns. That would not be unheard of. I believe the US did so as well. I doubt we'll ever see that in game, but hey, those torpedo tubes, 4 triple torpedo tubes, 47-second reload time, which is just stupid fast. By the way, that is without torpedo armament expertise, which means that number can get lower. They have a 4.5 kilometer range, 62 knot speed, 1 kilometer detection range, and do 13,667 damage, because 14,000 would have just been too ridiculously OP, apparently. Jeez. There is a downside to this ship. Like all ships designed prior to the advent of aircraft carriers en masse, the ship has 0 AA to speak of. A whole whopping 4 damage per second at 3.6 kilometers and 8 at 1.2 kilometers. If there's a carrier coming after you, which Tier 5 there almost always will be at least 1 if not 2, Godspeed and good luck. You're not going to escape. The other problem with this ship is its maneuverability. 34.5 knots is actually kind of slow, especially for a Russian destroyer. 730 meter turning radius is not good. 3.2 second rudder shift time is great. However, this ship doesn't like to change directions at part rudder, so that 3.2 seconds, it's nice because you get through the half rudder portion quickly, but the ship just takes forever to turn. Detection range is one positive area of the ship. With Concealment Expert, 5.7 kilometers, and that, like I said earlier, if you can catch a ship coming directly at you, or you're in a parallel but closing course, meaning you guys are headed in opposite directions but parallel to each other, you can actually launch torpedoes from stealth with this, and there's 12 of them, so you can imagine just how ridiculously powerful these torpedoes are. 3.9 kilometer detection range by air. Let's talk about what upgrades I recommend. In the first slot, I recommend Main Armaments Mod 1 for the 20% reduction in the risk of your main battery being incapacitated, as well as your torpedo tubes being incapacitated, 50% increase in the main battery and torpedo tubes hit points, as well as a 20% reduction in the time it takes to repair them if they do get incapacitated. Normally, I would say that you could run Magazine Mod 1 on this ship for the 70% reduction in the chance of the ship's magazine getting detonated. I'm just going to tell you to skip that, even if you don't have detonation flags, because you will lose the main armament on this ship all the time, because, well, as we all know, Tovarish, we're going to go ahead and litter deck with all sorts of armament. That is what our armor is actually going to be. We protect ship with guns, so rounds hit guns, we're fine, we're good. The guns and torpedo tubes get taken out on this thing all the time because there's just so many of them. Every square inch is covered in at least a gun or a torpedo tube, or AA, not that that's really worth mentioning, but it's ridiculous. So my recommendation is definitely Main Armaments Mod 1. In the second slot, Propulsion Mod 1 for the 20% reduction in the risk of your engine being incapacitated, as well as a 20% reduction in the time it takes to repair the engines. Yeah, with the ship's slow speed, I really don't want to recommend Steering Gears Mod 1, but it's there for those who really want it. This is the same thing as Propulsion Mod 1, it's just for your steering gears. Personally, I hate losing my engines on my destroyers and my cruisers. You'll see me run Propulsion Mod 1 religiously on every single destroyer I have, on every single cruiser I've played, unless it's like Hindenburg or something like that. And I think even Hindenburg has Propulsion Mod 1 on it. Yeah. In the third slot, of course, Aiming Systems Mod 1 for the 7% reduction in the dispersion of the main battery, because glorious Imperial Russian Navy accuracy, as well as a 20% increase in the speed at which the torpedo tubes traverse, so we get to turn our torpedo tubes quicker. We don't have secondaries, although I'm actually surprised by that, considering there's only 2 destroyers in the game that have secondaries. One of them is Russian, and the other is the unupgraded... Is it the Isakaze? No, that's the Tier 4. What's the Tier 2? Umikaze? Yeah. Has a secondary battery. However, Kiev is definitely one that has it. So I'm surprised Okhotnik doesn't have a secondary battery. Other options here, we have no AA guns, so there's no reason to buff them. And while the turrets turn really slow, I feel obligated to point out that this really isn't necessary. The turrets turn 360 degrees, with the exception of, I think, the front one? Maybe it's the second one. They don't turn 360 degrees, but the ones on the back do, which means that you really don't have to worry too much about traversing the guns all the time. It doesn't take long to get them to bear. The ship's not... I mean, the ship is maneuverable enough that it does struggle somewhat with keeping the guns on target, but overall, I don't find it necessary to take a Main Battery Mod 2 for the faster turret traverse. It's just not necessary, in my opinion. Whew! Alright, so that was the import portion of this video. Let's go look at this ship in a battle video. Oh boy, you guys are in for a treat. Alright, so Okhotnik being a Tier 5 sees Tier 7 matches fairly frequently. However, sometimes you'll get stuck in a 4-5 match. Sometimes you'll get stuck in a 5-6 match, like this one. And these can be really fun matches. There's no carriers, and this is really freaking ridiculous. This ship without carriers in a match is even more ridiculously overpowered. And there you can see, wishing everybody good luck and having fun there in Russian, because let's face it, we are in glorious Imperial Russian Navy boat, so we must go ahead and spread our Russianness everywhere we possibly can. And of course, no better way to do this than with glorious Imperial Soviet... Imperial Destroyer. Okhotnik, which is glorious balance boat. This ship is ridiculous. It is 110% memes all the way through. This ship is literally what I would imagine a bunch of drunk Russian naval designers coming up with, like, yo, Dmitry, we need more guns on the boat of the destroyer. How do we do this? No problem. We will fix, Tovarish. We will get this taken care of. Hey, Dmitry, we also need more torpedoes. Da, we got this. Don't worry. Here's it is. Alright, so the map is straight. We are headed to the A cap. And the A cap is usually a bit of a mess, but it's the beginning of this match. And it is what it is. You know, this match isn't the highest damage game ever, but it demonstrates a lot of the different ways in which you can kill a ship with Okhotnik. A lot of different ways in which you control people with Okhotnik. And at 5.7 kilometers detection range, you're a pretty stealthy destroyer. Now granted, this destroyer benefits from having a high-tier captain more than anything. And one thing I forgot to mention in this is exactly which destroyer captain I'm using. Now, the Russian destroyer tree is split between the line that goes to Khabarovsk and the line that goes to Grozovoy. And this is actually the captain that was on my Grozovoy. And the reason for that is simple. Grozovoy, while it's gun-focused, it also uses concealment. And that's important on this ship because this ship is stealthy. And a little bit of trolling going on in the chat. Yes, Rasputin, Boney M would be proud that their song is being abused heavily. So somehow we've managed to get this cap without anyone contesting it. Kind of traversing my guns to the other side, thinking, maybe this Emile Bertin will come in and we can torpedo him. No, we'll just go ahead and traverse our guns the other way. We'll kind of keep going this way. We've got a New Mexico that's up in the area. And, well... Oh, hey! Eigel! Wait a minute. Isn't Eigel a tier 7? Maybe... No, a tier 6. Anyway, we'll just go ahead and let him know what's going... What? We managed to go ahead and just flat out miss? What's that noise all about? Well, Mr. Eigel, I guess the surprise is on you. Guess what he's in? Torpedo range. Guess how this is going to work out for him? Poorly. As you can imagine. And... Oh, here we go. Okay, so he popped his smoke right away. And, well, we have 12 torpedoes at our disposal. So, Tovarish, please wait one moment while we unleash our balance lances at you. And if he goes ahead and hangs around in that smoke, you can imagine it's probably going to end poorly for him. Of course, just waiting to fall off detection there. Okay, so yeah. You took out my my engine and oh, well, yep. And the first ship goes down. Hello, Eigel. And a little bit more of Boney M thrown in for good measure. So this leaves an Emile Bertin and New Mexico up here. And of course our torpedoes are almost back up. So this is already starting to turn around for the worse for their team. We've got First Blood, we've got Dev Strike, 15,710 damage, and we have ourselves a New Mexico within combat range. Well, we're going to deploy our smoke. We've got AP loaded up for Emile Bertin. Unfortunately, Emile Bertin is turning away. And this is one, I hesitate to call it a downside. 9-second reload with basic firing training. It's not the worst reload in the game. I mean, for a destroyer, it's pretty bad, but it's still decent. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I can get to the other side of this island, maybe we can get ourselves... nope, nothing but bounces there. Alright, how about we just engage the New Mexico then? Because, well, quite frankly, there's no reason not to. And high shell velocity. Oops, led him a little bit too far. Forgot how slow the U.S. battleships are. So we'll just go ahead and we'll just continue to engage him with our AP. Look, 2,500 damage. Glorious, glorious Russian shells. AP shell made of stellinium, even though not Soviet. And how about 3,300? When you have 7 of these guns to shoot at, a near broadside target, it shouldn't be any surprise when you can do some pretty ridiculous things. So now we're going to try and start them on fire. We only have 12 seconds left of the smoke. Yeah, we're going to go out of our smoke here. So how can we engage ships from stealth? Well, look at his direction of travel. Look at my detection range. Look at everything about this engagement thus far. He's 7k out. We probably need to get a little bit closer to him. Yeah, 6k. I don't really want to go too much closer if I can avoid it because the Emile Bertin is there. So we're going to turn around. We're going to launch these torpedoes. And then we're going to boogie on behind this island here. So we launched one set far to the right because that's where he's kind of going. Launch another. Well, they basically launched them all far to the right. And you can see No way in heck we're actually going to be able to bring all of our guns to bear. They're slow at traversing while we go behind this island here, and well, screw it. Let's just go ahead and shoot at him. All 12 of our torpedoes running hot, straight, and normal, and yeah. He wasn't going to survive that if he was full hit points, let alone anything else. So right now, the match is actually pretty well balanced. Well, okay, we've lost 3 ships, they've lost 4. Not too bad. 37,109 damage, 3 torpedo hits on a destroyer with a 4.5 kilometer detection, or 4.5 kilometer torpedo range. Okay, so what else could we possibly do? Well, the Emile Bertin is something that we're never going to catch. It's way too fast for us. It's way too heavily armed and armored for us to really effectively engage. So we're going to come down here and we're going to harass this Graf Spee and see if we can't just remove him from this match. So we've got 2 kills and we're only 7 minutes into this match. And we've killed half of the people that have died on their team. There's 2 destroyers left on their team. There's 2 destroyers left on our team. And they have the cap advantage, which means we need caps. We've got La Galissonière is here engaging this Graf Spee with me, so that's always a good sign. Oh, somebody smoked him hard. I don't know if that was the Texas or the Iron Duke, or maybe that was a Fuso. I didn't quite see where those shells came from, but you know, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to engage him with guns. And we'll shoot HE at him at first. And he's kind of turning in towards us. You don't have to expose much of a profile to these ships when you're engaging them. So even when they do engage you, you can do things like that and completely avoid being shot at. And now we're behind this island. Our La Galissonière is still alive. He's coming around this side. Oh, we're detected by something, Hydro. So that must be the Graf Spee, and it just went down. And I don't think he's going to survive coming around this corner. Anyone want to make any bets? Do we go for the torpedoes or not? Do we go for the torpedoes or not? We're going to save him. We're going to save him because, look, there's Emile Bertin. And, well, he's going to come out basically exposing just enough of his bow for us to successfully engage. So now we got a smoke cloud here for La Galissonière, and we're going to engage Emile Bertin in the hopes of maybe, just maybe, getting another kill. Because we're up to 3, and we've got 11 minutes left in this match, which means that we can most likely get ourselves a Kraken. There was a Citadel hit at 8 kilometers on Emile Bertin, leaving her with 600 some odd hit points, 27 hit points left, and we've got our 4th kill. Rah-rah Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine. It's just a shame how he carried on. So now it's time to get into the cap, because they are ahead of us in overall number of caps, and they are rapidly catching up to us in points. There is Giulio Cesare. I don't know how you say that. It's some other language. We've got ourselves Eagle. There's Kamikaze R. Both those ships are fairly light health, and we need the cap, so we'll go ahead and we'll try and sneak around this corner, maybe get a lucky pot shot off on Kamikaze R, and take her out, and then we can move ourselves into position to deal with the Queen Elizabeth New York Giulio Fuso, and there's an Eagle somewhere over there as well, so kind of creeping around the edge here. The ship is really keen on taking out, low health ships, but it's also very good at nuking ships outright. So we're detected. There's the Kamikaze R being detected. I'm going to leave the cap. No reason for me to be in the cap. We're more than capable of getting it without my help. So we went ahead and we're detected, but nothing's really shooting at us. I don't have any idea where this Kamikaze R is currently at. And the Texas is shooting at it where she was seen at. Eagle is down there trying to burn the Texas up. No idea where this Kamikaze R is at. Guns, again, the ship's guns are really, really capable when it comes to, you know, this kind of like assaultive profile where you just charge enemies. I was thinking maybe we'll launch some torpedoes. We'll launch some torpedoes quick, just kind of quick spamming them around the corner. You can see kind of where he was going. Gonna have to slow down, though, to not Notzer this. I don't know that we're actually gonna get any hits on him. That's fine. He's kind of, you know, down into that. Whoop! Got him with the torpedo! Kraken unleashed! Actually, we got him with like 3 torpedoes. Now we need something spotting Eagle because we've already got the Kraken. We're up to only 50,000 damage. Not the highest damage game I've ever had, but this demonstrates a number of different tactics that can be used with Okhotnik to really maximize your damage potential. Again, remember, this ship is ridiculously powerful when it comes to nuking full health battleships. And we've got ourselves Eagle over here. He's out of range of us to torpedo. We've got ourselves the Julios coming in, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over towards our Texas, and maybe we can get close enough to actually shoot the Eagle and not have too many problems. Hopefully the Texas can survive this. Nope, I spoke too soon. Eagle's torpedoes managed to make it there. So now that the Texas is gone, that means Eagle is most likely going to bail out of his smoke and see if he can, you know, reposition himself. Well, surprise! Glorious Soviet Imperial balance boat incoming, and you've been balanced. Jeez. Well, we'll just go ahead and engage this Fuso because we deployed our smoke to try and hide as best we possibly could. It's succeeding. It's succeeding in an extremely good way. We're gonna switch to the Julio again. This time we're gonna shoot at him. Maybe we can get ourselves that fire. There it is. Okay, so he's got a fire. Switch back to the Fuso, and maybe the Julio will just burn and let it burn. That will be more damage for us. Again, up to 57,000 and 2 fires in 1 salvo on the Fuso. I see the Julio has burned his damage control party, so we will again try and get a fire on him. I know for a fact the Fuso has as well, but the Fuso is getting into what I would call the danger zone. Really, really, really wanting to see this Julio on fire again, though, just for good measure. We've got the points advantage, because now we've got the cap advantage. Not doing too terribly good amounts of damage there, so we're just going to charge this Fuso and get it over with. I mean, at this point, we really have nothing to lose. If I die, I've already got a Kraken, I've already got 6 kills, a Dev Strike, I've already got all of that. Fuso, 5.4, 5.3, 5.2. You can see he's going to intersect, no matter what happens, he's going to intersect my... He's going to intersect my torpedo arc. So we launched that first set long. He saw us and he started turning in right away. We held 2 torpedoes for a reason. So we're gonna try and get this Giulio Cesare on fire again. Okay, so we launched the 3rd set. There's the fire on the Giulio. And now the Fuso, being as distracted as he is, being as immaneuverable, he's slowed down. He's going to eat more torpedoes. He doesn't know it yet. He's just continuing to turn in. And we almost have torpedoes up again. That's what makes this ship so meme-worthy. If you stagger the launch of your torpedoes, there isn't a dang thing that they're going to be able to do. So there's 17,000 damage and 2 torpedo hits, but look, more torpedoes up. There's a Confederate there as well, and dead Fuso. And unfortunately, we won the game. Had the game gone on longer, we could have gotten another kill out of that Giulio. So finish the game with 95,304 damage, 7 kills, a cap. Whew, even a Citadel hit. Top of the team, 1,995 damage. You can see there all of the stats. Almost all of our damage was done by the torpedoes. You can see exactly how the ship gets played. If you can catch enemy battleships at that 6-kilometer range coming towards you, you can nuke them with your torpedoes. I love Okhotnik. It's a fantastic boat. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.